everybody out there in the bookverse, it's Stephanie, and I am going to be doing a birthday book shopping vlog for this video. I'm really excited because I've been doing this kind of as a tradition for a couple years now. I just go book shopping for my birthday because that's what I love to do the most. And I decided that this year I was going to film it so that you guys can come along with me. So the places that I like to go book shopping the most are obviously online on Amazon. That's kind of just my simple place to go to if I have a specific book or type of book that I want to get. Barnes & Noble, Central Book Exchange, which is a used bookstore in our area, samwellers, which is kind of a used and new bookstore, and then we also have Dolly's, which is one of my favorite bookstores because they have cats. So hopefully while we're there, there's some cats so I can show them to you, but we'll see. But I decided that I was going to get a book on Amazon that I picked. So I picked out one book and ordered it, and then I had my husband just go on my wish list and pick out a book for me. So I have two packages here from Amazon, and I know this is the one that my husband picked because he already opened it, and I haven't seen what it is, but he knows that's the right book. And then this is the one that I picked. So obviously I know what this one is, but I'm going to open them now. Baby. So the one that I chose was The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. This is a self-published book, and it is the Shelf Space Book Club pick for November, so it's one that I wanted to get anyways, and you can't get it in a bookstore because it is self-published, so you kind of have to get it on Amazon, as far as I'm aware, unless you can find it used. I might be wrong on this, but that's what I have heard. So this is an adult high fantasy book. So it follows this man who is kind of part of this war. I feel like this world values warriors a lot. They use their magic in the war, and they can manipulate the sea and make swords out of ice. So I'm excited about it. I've honestly only ever heard really, really good things about this book. I've only heard a couple of people talk about it, but I am excited to read it. So this is the one that I picked out for myself from Amazon. And I'm excited to see what my husband picked. Ooh, City of Stairs by Robert Jackson Bennett. I am really excited that he picked this one. I wouldn't have necessarily expected that because I don't think it's one that he's heard of. I've never talked about it. So I'm assuming that he hasn't heard of it somewhere else. But Robert Jackson Bennett is the author of Foundry Side, which is a very popular book that's going around on book social media. But City of Stairs is going to be the Shelf Space Book Club pick for 1 month as well. So it's nice. I have two Shelf Space Book Club picks that I can add onto my list, and I am really excited about that. So I have honestly no idea what this book is about. I know it's an adult high fantasy, so it sounds like it's about the city who used to wield the power of the gods, but then that power was somehow lost, and now that it no longer had that power and wasn't able to conquer other people and brutalize other people, it now got taken over and they are now enslaved. So I'm guessing someone might potentially find that power again, bring it back, help to free their people. I've heard absolutely nothing about this book. I've heard nobody talk about this book. I'm really excited to get into it though. So this one is it's a great pick. My husband's been doing really well picking me out books lately. I'm impressed. So from now on, we're just going to be jumping around to bookstores. I'll take you with me, and I think the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to pick out one book that I want at the bookstore, and then I am going to pick out 4 books and let people vote on which one to get from there. So, this is like the time of year where I buy the most books, and I just let myself feed my obsession. So I'm very excited to take you guys along with me. Okay, so for my birthday weekend, our first stop was samwellers, which it's kind of a used new bookstore that's local to where I live. I absolutely love going there. It's so beautiful. It's so cool inside. It's just a happy place for me. So the 4 options that were voted on at Sam Weller were Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. This is an adult high fantasy novel with a lot of political intrigue. The second option is The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. And this is an adult high fantasy novel as well, with some super atmospheric magical woods, which sound so cool. Third option is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. This is the first book in his very large Expanse series, and it is an adult sci-fi series. And the next option is The Rhythmatist by Brandon Sanderson, which is a middle grade fantasy book. So for the voting, I posted these 4 options to several different social media platforms, as well as sending them to some friends and family for them to vote on. And whichever book reached 5 votes first was going to be the winner. So let's jump into the voting for these books. So as you can see, the winner from Sam Weller was Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. This is actually kind of convenient that this is the book that we picked, because I have since noticed that this is a Shelf Space book club pick as well. This is the first book in another high fantasy series, which is probably not something I need to be getting into right now, but I'm gonna do it anyways. And I am excited because I was honestly originally interested in a different series by Brian McClellan, but I was told that you should read this one first. So we are going to be starting off with this series. I believe it's called the Powder Mage Trilogy, and I'm pretty excited about it. I know it has a lot of political intrigue, and I think it's a little bit different. They have muskets and stuff, so I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit of a different fantasy than I'm used to, which I'm very excited for. And the book that I just picked out myself was Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. I decided to go with this one because it is a Shelf Space book club for October anyway, so I was already planning on reading it, and I figured I should pick it up there. It looks so honkin' big. Look at that sucker. It feels like it would take me forever to read this, but when I look at the page count, it's actually just a little bit over 550 pages, so that's doable. I can totally do that. Obviously, I'm going to be getting this one right away. This is probably the hardest, really strong sci-fi that I have ever read. It's apparently very scientific based, and the things are kind of very realistic. They could potentially happen, and it follows this crew from Earth who have kind of discovered another ship that has a lot of secrets on it that could potentially blow up their world as they know it. I'm really excited to read this, especially since I'm going to be reading it along with the other Shelf Spacers, and that'll be great. I'll be able to join in talking with other people, and I know there's a lot of people who are way more into sci-fi than I am, so hopefully they'll be able to give me a little bit of assistance. The next bookstore that we went to was Barnes & Noble. This is probably one of my favorite bookstores to go to just because they have such a very wide selection. They have a lot of new releases, which of course I'm extremely excited about. So I absolutely love coming here. So my options for books for Barnes & Noble were To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini, which is an adult sci-fi book, which is something different than he usually writes. Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler, which is the first book in adult high fantasy series. A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, which is a fantasy dark academia adult book. And Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker, who is actually Shauna McGuire, who is the author of Middle Game, and this book was mentioned quite frequently in the novel Middle Game. So as you can see, the winner from Barnes & Noble was Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker. I think this cover is absolutely stunning and gorgeous. The colors are just beautiful. I love it. I'm actually really surprised that this is the one that won. I figured it would be one of the sci-fis or like adult fantasies. I didn't figure this one got as much attention as the other ones have been getting, but I am really excited about this. From what I remember from reading Middle Game, this is about two young children, one who's like extremely organized and one who is totally not, and like that one loves rules and one doesn't, and they somehow go over this wall and end up in a place called the Up and Under, and they are trying to find this city. I am very interested to read it. It's really short, so I should be able to go through it pretty quickly, but it seemed kind of confusing, the snippets that I was reading in Middle Game, so we'll see how well I understand this. And the book that I decided to get just for my choice was one that actually wasn't included into the 4 options, and that is The Dragon Republic, which is the sequel to The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I am really excited for this book. I absolutely loved The Poppy War, which is an adult high fantasy series that is based on East Asia, mostly China and Japan-ish. And it's amazing. It is brutal and it is emotional and it just really gets at your feelings and hits you in the feels. And I love it. And I am really excited to continue on with this series. The next store that I went to was Central Book Exchange, which is a used bookstore, and I feel really bad that I didn't find any books that I liked there. I love this bookstore. I find great stuff here quite frequently, but it is kind of hit or miss, and it does kind of depend on my mood as well, whether I find something that I love. But I still love coming here. I still love looking around, but I didn't actually buy anything on this trip. The next book we went to was Dolly's, and I absolutely love this bookstore. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any cats this time, which was kind of sad, but I still love looking around it. It's just kind of a small town bookstore that I absolutely love, and it's so cute and quaint, and I have so much fun every time I come here. So my options for Dolly's were To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, again, Legendborn, which is a YA urban fantasy, The Ruin of Kings, which is the first book in an adult high fantasy series, and Gideon the Ninth, which is almost a fantasy sci-fi book with lesbian necromancers, which honestly sounds amazing. As you can see, the winner from Dolly's was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is the first book in a new young adult fantasy series. It follows a girl who goes to college and learns that there are these societies that practice magic. They're called the Legendborn, and she decides to join the society, and I really don't know much else besides that. I think it might have a little bit of dark academia vibes, but I'm not 100% positive. I wouldn't be sad if it did because I love that. But I have heard nothing but great reviews of this book. I am really excited to jump into it. It's hard to jump into a series in the first book when none of the other books are released because I like to kind of have the next one there so I can grab it. But I think it'll be fun to be able to jump into this series at the beginning, kind of starting off with everybody else. So I'm very interested in reading this one very soon. And the book that I picked out myself was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And this is an adult Gothic horror-ish book. I hear it is not quite on the extreme horror side, but it has some very Gothic, creepy elements to it, which makes sense because Gothic is in the title. But I actually have already started this book. I'm about 100 pages into it and I really like it. It's very interesting, kind of fun. I'm hoping I haven't already guessed what the kind of twist is, because I feel like in these types of books, the ending really decides it for me, how much I love it or not a lot of times, because if it's exciting and cool and I didn't see it coming, I'm gonna love it so much more. But I really like her writing style. It's very accessible and you kind of get invested in the characters and their lives and what's going on fairly quickly. So I'm enjoying this book so far and I am excited that this is my pick there. And this is also the Top Shelf Society book club pick for October, which I am a co-host for. Our live show is going to be on October 30th on Perks of a Book Flower's channel. I'll link that down below so you can go check her out. And it's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's honestly it for the birthday shopping that I was planning, but you know me, I can't stop there. So we went to all those stores on Saturday, and then Sunday I decided I just wanted to go back to Barnes & Noble and buy some more books because I wanted more, and it's my birthday, and so I let myself splurge. I ended up getting 3 more books, 2 of which I've already talked about. One is Ashes of the Sun. I think this cover is just absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't resist. It's beautiful. It has pretty good ratings on Goodreads actually, and I want to read this book soon. I want to jump into it. It just looks so good. I needed to get this. It just kept sticking in my mind after we left the store, and so we had to go back and get it. The next is also one that was in my options at Barnes & Noble, and that is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. It's about a girl who goes to this magic school that is fairly deadly, actually. It's very dangerous, and you kind of have to fight to survive in this magic school. So I've only read Uprooted by Naomi Novik, but I hear she is amazing in all her books. So yeah, this one is definitely on my list, and I'm thinking I'm just going to throw it onto my November TBR because I have to read it. I am feeling some dark academia. I really have such high hopes for this book. I've heard really great things about it from some people that I have similar tastes to. So I am hoping that this is going to be one of my new favorites. I'm really, really excited for this. And the next one is one that I just have seen a lot. I haven't seen anyone read it yet that I have found, but I've seen a lot of people who have hauled this book, and that is The Year of the Witching. This is by Alexis Henderson, and this sounds creepy and so good. I love my fantasy to be high fantasy for sure, but I also love these books that have like witch magic in them that are a little bit dark and creepy. It just has really great vibes, especially this time of year. This is about a girl whose mother has died, and she is kind of ostracized in her community because she is half black and half white, and also her mother has a reputation for being a witch. And this girl starts to develop some magic, some powers. They're kind of dark. She's drawn to this really dark wood, and she starts to learn some things, and it sounds so good. I think there's kind of a religious aspect to it. I think she lives in a fairly religious community, which is very opposed to witches and magic. So that's one thing that my husband was super drawn to. He likes those books that have those religious aspects to them. I'm very excited to jump into this, and I think it's going to be so good. I mean, look at that cover. That's just creepy. Like the cover itself, she just looks like she's going to take you out. And the final book that is going to be on this video of birthday bookness is A Golden Fury. This is by Samantha Coho. I think is how you say that last name. And my husband wanted to get me a book that I had never heard of, that I had never picked out in a bookstore, never seen in a bookstore. So he went to the bookstore on the day before my birthday and picked this book out. And I was really impressed that he found a book that I had never seen before, because I looked through the bookstores quite frequently, if you guys can't tell, and I had just gone the weekend before. So I was impressed. And then I noticed that this book was published on October 13th. So he literally picked out a book that was released the day that he went to the bookstore to get it. I'm impressed. I am actually very impressed that he found a book that was released the day that he went to the bookstore so he could find one that I had never seen. Now, I know absolutely nothing about this book. I've read the inside and it sounds like it's about a girl who's involved in some alchemy and some magic, and I just think the cover is gorgeous for one thing. I mean, that is so pretty. And I like this inside. The end pages I think are really beautiful. And I'm excited for it. Mostly I'm just proud of him for finding a book that I had never picked up or heard of before. That must have taken some effort. So that is it for the books that I went shopping for and hauled for my birthday. This was such an awesome year. I got some amazing books, and this is one of my favorite traditions that I have, is that we go book shopping for my birthday. I absolutely love it. It feeds the addiction, guys. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you think, any of them that you think I should prioritize, or any that you think I personally would love. If you know my reading taste, definitely let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.